Welcome, friends, to the Great British Mickey Waffle. I know your eyes and your ears aren't deceiving you. We're actually going to take you back in time. Not literally, just a couple of weeks. And we're actually going to finish the show that we got absorbed into when we're talking about Travel Day. And we just wanted to share a little more of our planning and the details of our planning days, your planning days, and whatever. So hopefully it'll make your next trip that little bit more stress-free. Join in the chat, share your own thoughts and experiences, and be part of the show. Get your planning notes at the ready, and welcome to the Great British Mickey Waffle Live.
Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I
There we go. We don't do this very often, but the response to the first show was that good. We actually had to finish this properly. And actually, I think this is a right and proper way of going about it. So I'm delighted to welcome back. I've got Ben. Hi, Ben.
How are you?
I've got that Wednesday feeling. I'm live. I'm trying to ignore the football, which is also on the TV.
It's also on a Wednesday.
Yeah, but it's Everton Liverpool tonight. So I'm actually quite delighted to be doing this rather than actually, because I watched the first 15 minutes before we came on, and actually it was the longest 15 minutes probably of my week so far. So this is far better way of spending the evening. So, and you've got Becca as well. Hi, Becca.
Hello. How are you? Just asked how you were. I don't know why I'm asking again.
No, there you go. I'm good.
This is where my brain is today. So I apologize now.
There's been loads of people like that today. I must admit. You know, people just sort of had one of them days where they just haven't had the brain plugged in. I don't know what it is. I've been the same. So
my brain's never plugged in.
I think because the clocks changed earlier in the week, it always takes like a few days.
Yeah, just readjust. I think that's it. You know.
Yeah.
We've also got Simon with us. I think you missed it. Did you miss out the first time we did this, Simon? I can't remember. It seems a while back.
I think Simon's on mute.
There you go. Maybe he is.
I am. It's like I'm talking on a Teams call.
That'll work.
Yeah.
I missed the last one, John. So,
yeah, but welcome.
Yeah,
I'm glad you could join us as always, because actually it's such a good show, and everyone's got their own different way of doing travel days. And what's really good is we can go and cover some of the things that we spoke about previously, and I'll get your input as well. And we've also got fresh from a weekend. I've been waiting all week to say this, right? So fresh from a weekend of fires and bush trimming, not necessarily in that order. We've got Claire. See, I look at your socials, you see, and I wait until a Wednesday before I make it completely clear to everyone exactly what I've seen. And I actually didn't feel as though I could post anything on your bush trimming ones, because I just thought, no, anything I say will be misconstrued. And actually,
right.
I was giggling.
Gardening. It's all about gardening.
It didn't sound like it was gardening. It sounded like definitely not social media friendly.
It was brilliant. I just thought that's it. That was.
But John, you said we're going back in time, and part of me wants to go that whole.
Yes, that's exactly it.
We needed a graphic, Ben. Where were you?
I
think we wibbly
I was going to say, I feel like we need like a Doctor Who.
Wibbly wobbly tiny wimey thing.
Yeah.
No, that'd be a good one. Are you all right, Claire? Anyway,
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Is that okay? We'll go with that.
I'm okay.
Good. Now, Ben's already mentioned this, so we've actually got the 5 hours difference between us and the United States back again. Not much we can do about that, guys. So if you're on the catch up and you previously have been watching because it was that last hour of work or whatever, then we appreciate you joining us. For those people who are listening on the podcast version of this, a massive thank you. We can't believe how many people are actually taken to this as a podcast, and hopefully it makes your Fridays and possibly even your weekend just that little bit brighter, a little bit more positive. And that positivity is, I think, has been one of the themes of the week, simply because it's a little bit lighter. We're not far away from that time where we can actually do our annual. Oh, it's lighter at Johnson than it is at Claire's comparison. So it's not. Keep with us. It's only a few weeks away, and then we'll have that north-south divide as to exactly where who's getting more daylight than who's not.
It's weather watch on the Great British Mickey Waffle.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Going to keep the British bit going, haven't we?
Absolutely. Now
we need a tea alarm.
Well,
you don't have one set. That's great.
Or the national tea alarm.
I think we need to go down the margarita route as well, and we remind people that yesterday, being the 1st of April, more of which in a moment, we had our latest podcast out. It was an absolute epic, and Robin and Simon joined us to we were planning on getting halfway around World Showcase, and in true Great British Mickey Waffle style, we managed to get Mexico and Norway done, and we actually felt that there's a limit to how long a podcast can actually last. So
we had too many margaritas. That was the problem.
I think that was it. But
we started. We went the wrong way.
Start on the Clamato juice.
we went 2 mistakes. We went the wrong way, and we got started on the Clamato juice with Tillins kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was just brilliant, and I've got to say, I think Ben put it on some of the socials. We've waited so long, nearly 6 years of doing this to build up the courage to do a show like that, and it sounds so good when you listen to it back. It really does. It just takes you to Epcot, and I actually think it's one of them things you can actually just download it onto your phone, take your earpods in, and then just lose yourself within each of those 2 pavilions. And best thing, we've got next month's show, and you're going to have to see how many pavilions we actually managed to fit into that one.
All I can say is that it's taken us 6 years to do this topic.
I have to say, when I was planning it, and I didn't expect to only manage to do 2 countries in a show. So apologies if that's frustrating for people who listen to it, but we'll get there. No surprises for knowing that the next country up is China and Germany. And we'll try and get Italy done as well.
Hopefully Italy.
Yeah. We might get sidetracked along the way, you never know.
Right.
The little outpost might get a little bit more. Yeah, might get more love than it gets normally. So
go and bang the steel drums.
Yeah, that's true.
If ever there's a reason to not stop, there is those drums.
It's a nice little seating area, though.
No, it's in the sun, and there's the face painting stand, which always, to skip past. Not me.
You do it to save money.
The unthemed bistro chairs. That's what I always think of.
Yes. Unthemed bistro. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Uncomfortable unthemed bistro chairs. Yes.
Left over from the ones in France.
So there we are. Who knows? And thanks, Sam, for your comment about the show. We're glad you enjoyed it.
Wow. We've had loads of people commenting about some of our shows this week, and it really is appreciated. So if you are watching at a later time on YouTube, or you want to leave a comment when on the show, please do so, because it's really nice listening back, and then actually realizing people have commented, and then I feel obliged to comment back to you. So we'll keep it going that way. Speaking of people in the chat, a quick mention: we've got Heather. We're probably back to Heather's lunchtime again, which is probably good for Heather. I like that. And we've got Jane. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, back to the show live. There you go.
Yeah, great to have you back.
Yeah. Yes. Already mentioned Sam, brilliant, and Danny's in the chat as well. Really liking you being in the chat, Danny. And I think hopefully Robin might have had a chat with you. But anyone else watching, don't ninja watch. Get in the chat and share your views.
What did you just say?
Stop ninja watching.
Oh, that's not what I heard.
Really?
I don't want to know what you heard, Claire.
I tried to think.
It
I'm gonna
rhymes
away.
with ninja. Leave it like that.
Okay, I think let's move on and talk about the news. We all recompose ourselves.
Sorry, Becca.
No, I'm going to send you for an ear check. You know when you get that, should have gone to Specsavers.
It's headphones, I think.
No, so we've already named the shame Claire as being the social media menace of the week. But
Yeah.
Oh, I'm okay with that.
after the show last week, I think was it last Thursday or Friday, the wonderful Tampa airport people and the amazing social media outlet went absolutely crazy. And I think it was one of those moments that I think the ordinary reply was, oh, you should have kept this for April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Right? Because everyone was but they just had such a laugh in just putting out the very fact that it was like a false drop about nobody coming to Tampa, and everyone we're just going to call, what was it, the pink flamingo or the flamingo, whatever.
The home to the great big flamingo, something along.
Yeah, and I just thought, what a clever bit of.
I'm looking forward to this. Is the first
people, yeah.
Our trip in August is the first time we're flying into Tampa, so I'm looking forward to it.
it.
They must have known you were coming.
Yeah.
They're called the.
Don't mind calling it the home of the great big flamingo instead.
Yeah, they call themselves the international home for the giant flamingo.
Okay. So if anyone asks what airport I'm going to, that's
the
Yeah.
one.
You're gonna go see Phoebe the flamingo.
No, that's good. Like that.
I didn't know she had a name. I didn't know.
Did
it
you
was
not?
Phoebe.
Oh no, her name's Phoebe. Yeah,
I
She's
love the
awesome.
name.
She's absolutely awesome, and yeah, well done, Tampa Airport.
Yeah, very much so.
One thing I didn't realise about April Fool's is that in America it's an all-day thing, where in the UK it's up to midday. Anything after, we just go, no, it's not
That's
full.
proper news.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're having a laugh.
yeah.
Didn't know that.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's jump in on that one, right? Because actually, I hate April Fool's Day because you wake up, right? You wake up, you open your social media, and then you get, oh, that's definitely a joke. That's definitely a joke. I'm just gonna remove myself from social media for the whole day.
Yeah.
But then when you start looking, there actually is bits of proper news coming out.
Yeah.
And you're like, you can't make your mind up whether or not people are being truthful or people are winding you up.
Yeah.
It's crackerjack. And
It's only one day a year.
yeah, but it's like it brings out the grumpy part of me big time. I've got to say. No, and it's also Disney came out with the line about Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon being open again at the same time for the summer for the first time since 2019. Now, I still think that they were winding us up. That's to the extent at which you don't put news out. Until that actually happens, I'm not going to believe that.
But it wasn't yesterday the 30th birthday of like Blizzard Beach opening.
Yeah.
That's the reason they announced it yesterday.
Yeah.
But obviously it's one of
They
those.
really should have opened it on a different day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one are you going to go to, John? Are you going to go to Blizzard Beach or are you going to go to Typhoon Lagoon?
It's got to be Blizzard Beach. I have got to go on Summit Plummet. It really is. It's that whole thing. It in the space of a few seconds, it does more than the chiropractor can for my back. Sorts it out. Absolutely spot on. But I must admit, I don't think I'll be the one making the decision, so we'll end up at Typhoon Lagoon.
Danny, I think they are being serious. Danny's saying in the chat he thought they were being serious. They are being serious.
Yeah, and that's a problem. Yeah, but nobody knows. And that's what it gets me goat about it. There you go.
And the problem is, if you look the day later, you think, okay, well, what's the date of this? Was this news out yesterday?
Yeah.
Or was it out today? But April Fool's is over for another year, so we can hopefully.
Yeah, we're left sifting through all the remnants of stories from yesterday and stuff like that. So,
which is the one with the right?
too
Go on.
politically controversial, but isn't that what every day's like of news out of the US right now?
Well,
Can
yeah.
you tell if it's...
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
today should have been yesterday, but yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Which of the water parks is the one that has the ride that your shorts have a problem? I was thinking how to phrase it.
It's
Summit
Is
Plummet.
it Summit Plummet?
Yeah, the ones where you really do need to be very careful as
Right.
you readjust.
Yeah, they
Readjust
advise
before you get off.
women to be in a one-piece, right? I think they advise you not to wear a two-piece, just on the risk of
Okay.
Yeah.
Injury.
Well, just losing.
Losing
Losing
part
out
of
of the clothing.
losing part of your.
There is one which sort of Humunga Cowabunga at Typhoon Lagoon that comes out and it comes down and then into the trough straight in front, and it's two next to or three next to each other.
Oh,
I like sitting at the bottom of that and watching people trying to clamber out with the tiniest shred of dignity. I find that hysterical.
Readjust underwater.
The only time we've ever really been to a water park is I prefer the lazy river.
Yeah.
That's my
Right,
kind
that's
of
the only
water
reason
park
to
there.
go. That's the only reason to go.
Sunburn City in the
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the lazy river.
Yeah, and they've now got those the floaties that are like a chair rather than the donut that nobody can get in.
But
and
you can
out
try
of.
and get into, but then
You're stuck. So they've now got the ones that are a bit like a blow-up armchair. They're amazing. I will just go round and round. Apart from I don't like the waterfally bits.
probably okay in the middle of summer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be good. That.
Yeah.
I'm going with that. I'm just aware we are running.
are we going a lot?
20 minutes
I'm
already.
trying to keep this on track,
Okay.
and then
I'll stop talking.
but again, there's loads of news. Big Thunder Mountain track lane is going on at a pace. I'm going to go through that very quickly.
That's on track.
Yeah. And then there's a host of price reductions for hotels coming up at Disney for the summer. It's a difficult one because I think you need to be on the US site to get totally into the discounts.
There's some UK discounts being announced today.
There we go. I've missed them.
25% off in the summer through the school holidays for a selection of hotels. I've already been on trying to find a decent price for the beach club. It's not the only the beach club villas were available. So, but if you're looking for a moderate, there are some absolute bargains to be had.
Go and book all them up, and then I bet you
July, August, September.
Then the deluxe will come after that as well if we got space. So that'll be.
Animal Kingdom Lodge. There's some good prices. Animal Kingdom Lodge, Kidani Villas, definitely discount 25% off.
Excellent. That sounds good to me.
Of UK news, did anybody spot there was a little snippet of a photo of a Universal Studios production services van that appeared in the UK?
One that's down in Folkestone.
No, this is Bedfordshire, where Universal bought the land. Somebody spotted Universal Studios vans on the back of pickups being driven to where the new park area is supposed to be coming. Yeah. So it was just a couple of photos I'd seen online that were spotted. Yeah. So
apparently Universal Pictures are filming down in Folkestone this week and next. Not sure what the film's for, but yeah.
Folkestone?
Yeah.
I can only think of a few things you'd be filming in Folkestone, and I don't think
it must be low budget then.
Well, this
was a horror film.
Yeah, this was a van spotted in Bedfordshire, where the plot of land is.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So there's just a bit of speculation about whether they're going to start doing something on the land for Universal in the UK.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah,
that's taking off on a different tangent as well. I like that. We need more Universal in our show. I think that's it. We'll stay completely relevant to where everyone's going this summer. I think that's a problem. That I think I'm going to finish with this because it's the most negative bit of news of the week. Because actually, when I read it, I was going to self-edit, and I can't possibly do it because actually it was the one bit that really got me riled up because the Disney executives came out with some absolutely pie-in-the-sky statement over the weekend, talking about the fact that how people really like to be enclosed within Disney bubble. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, guys. You're really going down the wrong route here. You're not reading the room at all. And actually, I know we say it every Wednesday, but I do feel as if they're so far off exactly where they should be on this. And I really, I'm not speaking personally. I'm speaking on things that I'm either reading from other people on social media or on forums.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that Disney are going to get a kick in this summer, except Disney. And that for me just it seems inexplicable.
John, what I think the follow up to that was the announcement of the trial of the resort airline check-in.
Yeah.
So I wonder whether some of that ties into their Disney bubble. And there's a lot of rumours flying around at the minute. Whether does this mean Magical Express will return? It's like, I can't see it. I honestly can't. Mears has that contract. Yeah. Apparently buses aren't being filled as much. But when you think of the cost of an Uber versus how much it is to get to
who knows
Disney, which I think we'll probably cover later on in the show.
Yeah, we might do.
Well, if we ever get onto the topic, we will.
Exactly. And our weekly new feature before we move on. What's the current wait time on Guardians?
Okay, so we're back to 5
See, everyone loves this. This is great.
This is why I came here for this weekend.
Go on, Simon, go on.
Afternoon.
10 to 4 in the afternoon.
55 minutes.
85. I'll go for 85 minutes.
Oh, I'm going to go 60.
I'm going to be hopeful and say 45.
Claire, absolutely on the nose.
Wow.
60 minutes. The 1 hour wait. The 1 hour wait. There we go. So
not terrible.
Yeah.
Here we go. On with the show. We're only
Only
22 minutes in.
22 minutes in. It's half time. It's 0-0. I'm sorted on that. And I never mentioned in the news that it's a new Springsteen album, which has only been announced today. And I might be up late to download that when it comes out. But hey, that's another thing. Anyway, I'm going to be the very best cabin crew host and take you back a couple of weeks. We got to the airport eventually. We checked in eventually. We decided on the lounge options because that's where Claire goes all the time and not to the Spoons. We also managed to get on the flight, which if you missed that, I did name and shame my own mum for a flight missed. And if she ever watches this show, yes, go back and watch 2 weeks ago. They got the whole story. And also we talked about the need to book for a seat. We did miss one question, which was really important. I know Simon, who's just back from Universal, it was in the chat as well, and they actually had a really interesting setup because they went with their daughter. She's of similar age to my kid, so in that sort of in that bit where they get to the stage where they should be going and paying for their holidays themselves. Just play that to Izzy, Simon. She might get the hint. But we didn't really delve into, and as a show that loves food, we didn't really delve into the food bit at all. So
on the plane,
plane,
yeah.
Ooh.
So
okay,
and actually, Izzy actually did the wise option and made Simon actually order the kids' meal because she knows that she wouldn't eat anything that comes on the Virgin flight that's from the selection of the adult, and that was, I think they were in. I'm not sure. It probably correct as if they were in economy or not, or premium. But I actually think this is becoming more of an issue. And actually, I actually think that as I've grown older, there's less stuff on the plane that I'll actually eat. I just don't. Yeah. It's not appetizing. Yeah, but it's not appetizing.
Vegetarian.
Yeah, it's become more bland. I find since. And once we went in 2019, and I'd say it's probably the best meal we've ever had on a plane in economy, was like bacon, mac and cheese. And it tasted really, really nice.
You can't mess up mac and cheese.
And I have to admit, that was the best plane food. And when, obviously, I can't include the time we were in upper class. That was a completely different level.
I don't know. I think the best thing you can say about most plane food is that it's edible.
I'm not sure it's all edible.
No.
Yeah.
I tend to, I'll be honest, I tend to ask the steward which they would recommend, because a lot of them have tried them, and if they've tried them, they'll say, no, this is awful, or they'll say this is okay, but the other one's better. And actually, when we flew in, when we were there, where did we fly to Dubai? I think it must have been in October when we flew to America, and I asked the steward, I said, what do you reckon? And she went, honestly, we were in premium. She said, the tomato gnocchi that they've got in economy is the best on the plane. She said, "Do you want me to get you one of them?" I'm like, "Yes, I do."
Yeah.
So she went.
That's basically the crux of where I wanted to take this. And I think it's really interesting. Hannah's in the chat also mentioned to say if you actually order a meal because you've got certain dietary requirements, you get it first, which is also worth knowing.
I like Karen's comment. I want to know what technology they use to remove every drop of moisture from the bread.
They're like a cricket ball, aren't they?
The thing is, if you're in economy, you get a rubbish knife.
Plastic knife.
So it's like trying to. It's just terrible.
You don't need a knife. You need a new set of teeth.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pose this question towards yourself, Claire, and to Simon, because I know both of you guys are very much front of the plane kind of people.
Turn left.
Yeah. Is there an actual difference, or are you still served that sort of bland kind of mush
No, the menu. I mean, I think for me, flying in, I've flown BA Club and I've flown Virgin Upper. I'd say that the food in Virgin is better. The Virgin Upper product is generally better than the BA Club product, and particularly going to Orlando, if you're talking about that flight experience, the planes from Gatwick to Orlando are clanky old ones with the 2 forward, 2 backwards. We all know that those seats are not great. So the Virgin Upper experience is significantly better. I think the food on Virgin is better. I think the selection is better. BA tend to consistently have some sort of random chicken curry. Why do people serve curry on a plane when there are limited bathrooms? I do not know. It doesn't make sense to me.
Not if you're on the plane for more than 7 hours, isn't it? Like,
right.
Well, it's bad enough. It's bad enough in a metal tube that people are just
right
farting into an airline blanket for 7 hours. It's worse when they're eating curry. You can be guaranteed of that.
Oh my goodness! It's just those filters, they're great, but not that good. I think that the food in BA Club is fine. It tends to be. It's still it's plated nicely and it comes out separately on each course, and they put a nice little white tablecloth down for you, and it's lovely. But I would still say it isn't great. It's not, there tends to be like a beef short rib and some potato, and then there's like a chicken with a sauce, and then a vegetarian option. The worst thing that happens is the BA breakfast. If you're on an early flight it's awful. And if you're in, the other thing that I really dislike is if you're in premium economy in BA and your snack before landing, so the thing that they serve you about 90 minutes before landing, it's like this weird pastry thing. It's like it's a bit like the outside of an apple pie lattice, like a lattice piece of pastry, and it's either got cheese and tomato in the middle, or it's got like chicken and tomato. They are like hot cardboard. They're as tasty as the thing it's wrapped in. They should just get rid of them. Whereas I think Virgin do quite a nice little afternoon tea or a sandwich or something.
Couple of different options.
It's bad, and I just think you've either got to eat before you get on the plane, hence the lounge, just saying, or do what Becca does and take your snack pack, and just accept that the food isn't going to be great. And
I think you've
got to think about waiting in a 9-hour flight. Let's face it.
And also it depends also what time your flight is, because you're going to get various different ones. I remember when we flew. I would say when we flew with Delta, when we went to JFK.
The food in Delta, really nice.
Yeah.
Delta also have Sweetwater IPA as their standard beer, which I quite like.
Yeah.
Their meal before landing, burger and chips.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
Hey, that's cool.
And it was,
that was a nicely cooked burger as well.
But Virgin, I'm not really a BA flyer. I tend to go with Virgin for most of my trips, but for me, it's like the quality of the food between all the cabins isn't like a significant step up. No. The one bit you find is the experience of dining in each of the cabins is different.
Exactly.
You get the step up of like you get your China cup in premium, and you get a slightly better food. It's served, and you've got metal knives and forks and that sort of stuff. But the upper dining experience is a bit of a step above that, but it's still heated in the same trays, and they just plate it up for you. So it's it's more about the experience of dining in each of them varies, and that probably has something to do with your enjoyment of eating the food. If you are sat pleasantly with a tablecloth and they're serving you bread rolls from a and
would you like some more wine, sir, and all of that.
Yeah.
I have to say, I think the stewards do their very best to make it an interesting experience, and quite often my experience in BA Premium is they'll come around with the drink service, which is lovely, and you'll get doubled up, and then do you want can I get you some wine? So you get an extra, I've had 2 gins and tonic, and then 2 bottles of wine, and then with dip food, they're like, do you want some more wine? Yeah, another 2 bottles of wine. They do, they're very generous with drinks. Virgin, I've had that as well, where they say, come on, you're on holiday, have another drink. And I think that everyone recognises that the food experience is not going to be a premium experience. It's functional. And I just don't think that for me, Danny's question, would I be happy to pay £100 less and not have food? Absolutely. Because do you know what?
Yeah.
I'm not going to waste away in the course of a 9.5-hour flight. There is enough food in my body, particularly if I've been in the lounge beforehand, to last all the way through. I sometimes think that people focus on the food because it's something to do. I'm sure that the crew would prefer not to have to serve food.
It's probably one of those things. It's that stage of the flight. It's like 9-hour flight. You've got to break up when having food. It breaks up. I can watch a film, then.
But on the way home, it's like an hour in. It's like your food's on your plate, and then it's like crank the heating up. Everyone go to sleep.
I don't even get to the food. I'm asleep.
You're asleep before the food. I'm not asleep.
And don't wake me up for plane food.
I'm often asleep when the plane's rolling back, like it's being pushed back, and I'm already falling asleep.
I love that Hannah's just said that she's poured wine all over someone in a Chanel suit when there was sudden turbulence. I love that.
Oops.
That's great. And there is with making your food experience better. If you've got a child, you can order the kids' meal. We've and ah about that with Millie at the moment. She's had the kids' meal. It tends to be chicken nuggets and mashed potatoes, which is fine, but when it's reheated under tinfoil, everything's soggy and it's not very pleasant. But the kids tend to get like a snack pack as well, like a Lunchable or something, rather than the quinoa salad
that no one really eats.
But I think it's so variable. We just take snacks.
And that's a problem. Thanks to Simon. So Virgin Economy options were sausage and mash and mozzarella and tomato pasta. And he said the sausage and mash was not too bad. That for me is, I don't know. I'm with Danny. I would take the saving.
Yeah. Go to Portland and Mason in the airport and buy their little afternoon tea box.
Yes.
Spend 20 quid on snacks to bring on the plane.
You haven't put one of them in Manchester yet, Claire. All right.
No.
I think Danny has just made a point that I've been victim to that. I think in premium, where it depends on where you're sitting as to whether you're even going to get your selection. And I've had it both ways, where I've been sat at the bulkhead and they've served from the back forwards.
Oh no!
I didn't get the choice, and then on the way home, I was sat.
They did it the other way,
and they did it the other way, and I didn't get the selection again. So sometimes you can, and then if there's only one thing on the menu that you want or will eat, and that's the one thing that's popular, and they don't have any of it by the time they get to you. But I've never had any issues then, especially when I'm tending on vegetarian meals, and I've had it in economy as well, where I've said, look, there's nothing on the menu that you've got left, and they've got I've always found flight crew more than happy to go and find you an alternative option, and they'll go and forage something. So that has its benefits. If you are vegetarian, you need something, and there's only meat on the economy menu, you'll probably get something from premium or even upper that they'll find and scrabble something together for you. So
and the other thing that Anna and I experienced when we had a fairly hefty delay at Gatwick a couple of years ago, it was December, we were at Gatwick. I think we had like a 3 or 4 hour delay, and by the time we boarded, we'd changed aircraft and various things. Actually, the food that had been loaded in the original aircraft, because they thought we were going in that one, was the same food that we got served, and you can imagine how it was when it arrived. So we were not overly happy with that. But again, it's functional. It's just to keep you amused, I think, for half an hour.
Yeah. Right, so I'm going to move us on because actually that was one bit I actually didn't. I actually feel we've covered that better now than we did in the first show, and it kind of fits that little gap. Now, I was going to say, and I think we kind of know roughly if you're going direct, you've got that choice of do you go to Orlando, do you go to Tampa, do you go to Miami? There was one time we went to Fort Lauderdale because Delta and Virgin were running an offer on a route indirect that would put you into Fort Lauderdale, which was absolutely crazy because the airport couldn't cope with the number of British people that were going. And there's also Jacksonville, which some people actually will try and find a route into Jacksonville because it's not on the tourist trail. You tend to find it can be a little bit cheaper, or certainly was before COVID. And then you just hire a car and you can drive down. Has anyone got a particularly favourite or least favourite airport in Florida?
Ooh. I've been to MCI, so
yeah.
MCI, I suppose.
There you go.
I'll let you know in August.
Yeah,
I was going to say, getting to MCO, we're happy to do layover somewhere.
Yeah.
We've been through Charlotte, we've been through JFK, not had any issues with either.
Yeah. I quite like going in direct. Simon, what about you?
Definitely a direct, but that's just with ease with Virgin, really, because there's plenty of options with Virgin to go to Florida. So, I would only do Miami if I was doing Key West or something at the southern end of Florida. Otherwise, I'd be sticking with MCO or Tampa.
Okay.
I'd try Melbourne. I've worked over in Melbourne, so I know.
Yeah.
I know the ease of the drive over from Disney World. So it's I would go for that if there was a TUI flight that was suited and was going when I'm looking to go. So I wouldn't say no to any of them, to be honest. I think they've all got plus points. I think depends whether you want a lounge. If you want a lounge and a bit of luxury, I probably wouldn't fly in and out of Melbourne because I think it's more like a care home. I think is what most.
And you'd also be flying TUI, so
I think that's the first stumbling point for me. I never get into trouble for saying this. I wouldn't give TUI money, so. But I'll leave that for another time.
We have friends that pick TUI over most others because they just consistently like the consistent standard of what they have with them.
Yeah.
And I think if you're depending on where you're flying from in the UK, I guess it might suit if you're flying from Newcastle or somewhere. You can get direct to Melbourne.
Right.
But I think it depends on your proximity. I mean, we're 35 minutes from 40 minutes from Heathrow here, so. There's only really ever the preference for us is definitely Virgin Direct and MCO or Tampa. But I look forward to the next Miami route because I fancy the Keys again for a trip down there.
Yeah.
The rum distillery in Key West is calling my name.
Now that sounds a plan. And Claire, you're not keen on Miami at all, are you?
Do you know what? I'm not that keen on Miami. I have to say, when we flew there last year, it wasn't as awful as it had been previously, but we were going down to Key West, so it made sense. If I was going to Vero Beach, I'd go to Miami as well and just drive up. And same with, if I was going to Vero, then Melbourne would probably make sense as well because it's not that far. If I had my choice, I would go to Tampa every time, just because I've said it many times on this show, it is smaller, it is cleaner, it is friendlier. Nobody shouts at you at Tampa Airport, which I really, really like. However, I think Terminal C at MCO is a bit of a game changer if you're flying in on BA, because it is super quiet. It has its drawbacks in terms of the fact that at 9 o'clock in the evening, everything shuts in the departure area. So the lounge shuts, all the shops shut, or the restaurant shuts. So if your flight is a late one, there is literally nothing open. And if you're delayed, then you get a bit caught up. A couple of places stay open, but it tends to be a bit like Mary Celeste. I cannot bear the A and B terminal at MCO. There's so many things about it.
I love it. Maybe just because it's so familiar.
It's a bit too people-y for me, that whole big security line and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I would rather drive the hour down to Tampa and just walk through some switch, have a nice calm experience.
Yeah.
And for me, it tends to be cheaper.
We've only through MCO to go through the security side of it. It's only ever been like 10-minute queue.
Oh no!
Yeah, and the rest.
No, to get through when we're coming home.
Oh,
no,
so
home.
Yeah,
it's about
getting
10,
into
the security coming home is the thing that when you're there in that central bit where Starbucks is and you've got the big American flag, blah, 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 blah. Often the queue to get through that section and get through security to get on the little monorails to go to your Virgin flight can be 40, 45, 50, 60
We've only ever experienced 10-minute queues.
Lucky you.
Haven't we had
not
45 minutes, 20 minutes.
Even the TSA pre-check line can get to half an hour.
Yeah.
But MCO getting into the country in immigration.
Not if you use the NPC app, which we will get to.
If you use the NPC app. Yeah. But if you don't,
more
those lines.
Yeah. But yeah, I would choose Tampa because I think it's like Sam's just said in the chat, tends to, if you research it carefully and you look at your dates and your times, Tampa tends to be cheaper. And then, car hire's a little bit more competitive. And then it takes the same amount of time to drive to get through the airport. Like we've gone through disembarkation, collecting our bags, security, collect bags in the car and on the road and back up to wherever we're staying in a villa near the 192 in less time than it would take us to get through Orlando and drive to the same place. So
that's the payoff, isn't it? And I think that's one thing. Sam, if you're getting £1,000 cheaper for August,
no brainer.
That's the point I was going to make, because we very rarely have gone into Orlando.
Yeah.
And last year was one of those rare times where we did, and actually, just like you said, Claire, we actually got straight through in MCO when we landed. We were in the car hire place. We got the car and we were out of there. And it was we were actually sat in the accommodation and we were like,
that was quick.
Oh my word! This is like something completely foreign to us, because normally we've just totally done away with all that. However, in MCO, it's worth it just for the carpet. I'm going to put that bit in first as well.
Yes.
It is hit and miss, I think, leaving MCO, because we've had it where it's taken 90 minutes just to get through the airport, find your car, do the tour of all the car parking bits to find which one's got your car, and which we had last year. Yeah. Whereas I've done it with Morgan last year when we went in June. We were off the plane. By the time we had a hire car and we were out of the airport, and it took us 24 minutes to drive from MCO to Coronado Springs. Yep. And that, it can be as quick as that. It can be an hour on the road, and it's just so unpredictable depending on the time you land and what the traffic looks like and how many roadworks they put there on the expressway, which is possibly the worst named road ever. If you go the southern route. And it just depends on the time of day, and you can take it can be a quick trip, it can be super long. So for me, the Tampa route is more predictable in terms of how long it's going to take me to get back to my accommodation.
It's the reason we're going to Tampa this year is the availability of miles. We wouldn't be going if it was Orlando was the only option, because it was like £3,000 for economy flights. Mid-August.
So I'm interested to see what you think of Tampa, whether you.
I'm imagining we'll like it. I can't see why I wouldn't.
There's a Hard Rock Cafe and a PF Chang's in the departure area.
And I think, going back to Sam's comment, it's like whatever's cheapest. In a way, means
we'll fly with
within reason.
And that, to whichever airport.
That's always been the lead for us. It's always been cost, because actually you're going to get there eventually, and last year for us was a bit of a game changer, because it basically saved half a day from our perspective, and it was unexpected that how nice it felt to go direct. And I think, Simon, you mentioned that with your trips, the direct option actually
it does make a difference.
It does. And actually, if you go back and listen to some of our very early podcasts, I was always a great advocate of going in direct. But the actual cost saving now is nowhere near what it used to be. You used to be able to get in Yeah, and it's just not worth it, which is a bit of a shame. Claire, you mentioned.
The other thing I was going to say was I think those people that know of all the changes with Virgin Points redemption as well. I think MCO is becoming a less attractive option because the frequency of flights and the priority that everybody puts around that route means that the points required for flights on that are ridiculous when you compare it to what Tampa have and what Miami have. So I think the more people look at that, I think there's going to be a big shift with Virgin that people are going to start looking more at Tampa.
I can give you our example. 130,000 points is what we spent for our premium flights before Virgin changed.
Yeah.
For the same flights, and this was in Tampa, they wanted 1 million points. that was the difference overnight. And so million points.
That's so funny.
500,000 miles
That's
each.
insane.
Yeah.
That's like Monopoly money. It's just ridiculous.
that's just making it up there.
Yeah. 50 years of flying and I finally can afford a flight.
Yeah.
To Paris.
Yeah. Claire, I know I want to move us on because I actually want to get onto the bit when you get on you get out of the airport bit. However, you mentioned something, and this appears to be the question that loads of people, and we flagged this probably at the same point when I think it was introduced about a year ago, which is the mobile passport control.
Yeah.
There are limited airports that it can be used at. However, Orlando and am I right in thinking Tampa?
And Miami
as well. Right. Yeah. It comes up on Facebook forums so many times about how are people? Why are people cutting the queue? Why are people out at the airport and I'm stood in this queue for 2 hours? What have I done wrong? What have I missed? And actually, it's there for everyone to use. It's not a case that it's not a case that because you got a new passport, you have to go in the ordinary queue. It might read like that. If you're a first-time visitor, you can still go in there. It might annoy them a little bit because you've got to get your fingerprints done, etc., and your picture taken. But you can download the app and do it. It saved us loads of time last year.
It makes an enormous difference, and it almost has negated the requirement that people who were frequent travellers previously used to pay out for TSA pre-check, and you go for the you'd pay your $150 or whatever it is, and then global entry stuff, and you'd go and have your little interview in America when you got there. The NPC app almost replaces that, and it's free. That's the first thing. It's completely free. Anyone can download it, and you need to do one app entry for a family. That's the important bit. You don't all need to do it, and it's so simple. You set it up before you go. You put your flight details in, where you're landing. You take a photo of everyone in the party that's traveling with you, and then when you arrive, you go back into the app when you get off the plane and go, "I am here."
Yeah.
And then it gets you to take a photo of everyone's face again. Yeah. And it's hysterical because you all look like utter.
You're like 9 hour flight.
After a 9.5 hour flight, you're trying to make yourself look like less knackered than you were.
I've got a little tip actually. You don't have to get off the plane to take the photo.
No, you can take the photo.
You can do it on the plane.
Yeah. So, and then while you're waiting to taxi to be, you can do it while you're sitting there with your drink. I wouldn't suggest doing that. But when you arrive, you just go back into the app and say, "We have arrived," and then it downloads it all and it gives you a QR code. And when if you're at terminal, if you're MCO terminal A or B, you go straight to the global entry line. And at terminal C, obviously, you pick up your bags first, and then you go to global entry line. And you basically cut in front of anyone who's in the standard queue. You don't cut in front of US residents. You don't cut in front of global entry. They will let them go past you. And we had that at JFK when we used it, that we stood in the line and they went through the line, making sure there was no US citizens that were waiting in front of us. And then we were allowed to go. I don't have an issue. I was a bit annoyed at the time, but looking back, I'm like, it doesn't really matter because we still weren't waiting in the massive queue. But it takes your wait time down to 5, 6, 7 minutes, if that. If there's nobody in the line, particularly Terminal C, I've just walked up, gone straight to the desk, and they have a selection of immigration officers just waiting for that global entry line. So you tend to be super fast, and it also means that you don't have to do all the stuff at the desk. Sometimes, if you haven't been for a while, they'll still do the fingerprints and things. For me, I've done the last year I've been in, and they've literally looked at me taken my passport, looked at me, given my passport back, and gone, "Thank you very much."
Yeah, we pretty much had that. We had a nice little chat. Like,
we had a nice chat, actually.
Yeah. Didn't even have a chat.
It was like, what park are you going to? It was sort of that sort of like, it's like,
have you got any food or anything? No. Have a nice time. And it's so rapid, and I think it's pretty groundbreaking in terms of experience in the airport and arrival.
Yeah.
Thinking back to the years go by when there was like the digital terminals, and your hands are so dry because you've been on the plane and you can't get your fingerprints to register, and there was all the bit where you had to get like the printed bit of paper, and then someone in your family got the one with a big X on it, so everyone had to go in a different queue.
Because someone got to take their glasses off.
Right, and this just makes life so much easier. So if you don't use the NPC app, or you haven't used the NPC app, please download it and make use of it. It is free, and there are so few things in this situation that are free.
Yeah, and make sure you do, because actually it's well worth it. And again, if you're not great with tech and things like that, even I managed to use it last year, and that's the way I made that quite clear. I'm just going to ask, I'm going to put this out to the chat. I'm going to put this out because we were talking about this, because actually, guys, we do plan what's coming up in the show, right? Not just this week, but in the podcast. So we had a nice planning meeting. And then, Claire, you came out with an absolutely cracking little point. And that whole bit about immigration officers.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That was more of a rant than a point.
Yeah, but I'm actually going to put this out to everyone who listens and watches this, because I think this is actually something that anyone can do. You don't have to be going to America, even going to France, Spain, whatever. It's a research project. So just do feedback as you go on your holidays, or you go on your weekend away and things like that. Has anyone ever had a female immigration officer on the actual passport stamping bit? Because actually, between all of us, none of us can recall it. You maybe have them in different parts of the airport, but I don't know.
I have them in the UK on return.
Yeah, but that seems to be a few and far between.
We did in the US.
You did. Excellent. There we go.
Francisco. It was San Francisco last October.
Excellent.
There we go. Well done, San Francisco, for your diversity.
That's one. We like that. The other thing to bear in mind, and if you're doing this research on behalf of the Great British Mickey Waffle, please do not take photographs of the immigration. They don't like that.
They don't like that.
No.
We don't have your back on that one. All right. So
put your phones away.
Yeah.
Once you've done your NPC app, got your QR code, that's all you need to do.
I mean, that's what I say about.
That's a contradictory, isn't it? Because you've got signs everywhere saying don't have your phones.
But there is a moment at MCO when you're waiting for your bags, and there is someone shouting at you, "Put no cell phones."
Yeah.
And they do walk around fairly, abrasively telling people off. Whereas, it does frustrate me a little bit. It's a federal area; you shouldn't have your cell phone out. But it's not. Yeah. It's not my problem.
Yeah.
Now, normally at this part of the show, we would go and talk car hire and where you go and pick your car up. But actually, we did that in the February podcast. So we took an hour and 25 minutes to do so. So
go back and listen to that.
Was that just the queue to get the car?
Yeah. No, I've never had a big queue for that. But we discussed the whole thing. So go and have a watch. Or go and have a listen to that after the show, if you want the detail, because actually it does explain the whole thing about hiring a car in Florida, what to expect.
Yeah.
And actually, it gives you an excuse to go and dig out another podcast as well. But there are alternatives, and I think that's a bit that I'm never aware of. I always hire a car. The other side to this is, Disney had the most sort of inclusive and the most sort of captive audience with the Magical Express, and that now is Mears Connect, which doesn't have the same feel, or you can get an Uber. Now, don't know about you guys, where are you sat on? If you've not got a car, because I know Ben and Becca, you've only had the car one time, haven't you? How would you have got to? Yeah,
Uber.
So to start with, we used to use the Magical Express, but we haven't
Disney
changed to the Mears bus. If we're not hiring a car, we'll use an Uber.
And if we're paying, $17, $18 per person, I'm like, that's near
might as well
enough.
spend the 30 quid for an Uber.
Yeah, I'm getting an Uber and I'm getting there within 30 minutes. I'm not having to do the trek. But
even when we had hotels,
when we had the Magical Express, sometimes if you're unlucky on that resort, you end up going around 2 or 3 other resorts first before you get in there, and it ends up being like an hour and a half trip. Where I can get in an Uber, and like Claire said, sometimes it's 25 minutes. I remember in 2023 we got to Riviera within half an hour from leaving the airport.
Yeah, it's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, and it literally was open the app. We were at the trying to work out where we were in the airport so we could just choose the right pickup point. And once we've chosen that, a couple of minutes later, there they were, put bags in the back of the car, and off we go. I found it a much easier option. Claire, you've used Mears, haven't you?
Yeah, so I've used the Mears Connect bus when I was doing solo. And it worked fine. You know, I went downstairs, sat there. I think I had like a 15-minute wait for the bus to come. The driver was awesome. He was really helpful. And yeah, I think it probably took in total maybe an hour to get to Coronado, from me checking in and the bus coming and getting on. And then the bit that I don't like about Mears Connect is the return to the airport, because they pick you up super early, and it doesn't matter how early they pick you up. They still have to go to it doesn't matter where you are on that route. It still feels like another 4 hotels they have to go through. And I'm someone who has huge travel anxiety, which is, I know, is a bit of a contradiction based on the amount that I travel, but I don't like being late to the airport. It really worries me. I am the person who I'd rather get to the airport 4 hours before and sit anxiously looking at the gate from in the airport than sitting somewhere else. So the fact that bus is going to go through another 4 hotels and they're going to skim up to MCO at, with 2 and a bit hours to go, that for me is like huge anxiety provoking moment. So I would rather not use the bus if possible, so much so that Morgan and I were going to use Mears Connect when we go in a few weeks, and actually I've used Avios points and hired a car just because it means that we are totally able to do exactly what we want. And that's a bit that for me, because I'm probably going to go to Publix, I'm probably going to go to the outlet, by the time we added up the cost of using 20,000 Avios and a little bit of cash, it worked out cheaper. Of trying to work out, I think if you're not prepared to, if you're not hiring a car, you can't drive, you don't want to drive, all those things, I think the Mears Connect option is really good. I think it's very cost effective. I think it's they often do lots of deals in terms of like children free. I don't think it's expensive for what it is, and I think the drivers are excellent. I think the experience is, I never had the Magical Express option. Because we tended not to stay on property, so I've never experienced what it was. I think the bus is fine. It's a bus transfer, same as you would get if you're going to Turkey or anywhere like that. So, it gets you from A to B. It may not be the fastest, but it seems to be safe. And that's the important bit.
Yeah. Simon, what's your preferred option? Car, bus, Uber, whatever?
Car. It's always been car. I think
I thought you might have been.
Yeah.
Since we've had a car, I can't see us doing any other option.
Yeah.
I think there's been time. I mean, I can't remember how we got from the airport, to be honest. I don't know whether we Magical Express, but I think the first time we stayed on site at Disney, we didn't have a car for that week. We may have had, I think we had transfers from the airport, but we didn't have a car for the week we were on site. And occasionally we don't have a car for a period of the trip, but we've usually had a car at some point in that stay. I just feel like I feel a bit lost without a car when I'm there. It's a strange feeling.
Even if you don't use it, it's nice to have the option that you could.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
If it sits in the car park for 4 days without
it
started up.
Yeah.
It's a strange feeling. Like I don't know. Like my hands have been cut off for a couple of days without a car. It just feels weird. But I mean, I would consider the others. It's not that I wouldn't. It just feels more natural. I think the one thing was that post-COVID cost of hire cars was that was when it was like, this is getting questionable as to whether I would want to have a car. But I think thankfully the cost has come down quite significantly since then, so it's back to being a bit more reasonable in price. But there's certain hire car companies I wouldn't go with, but that's probably a story for another day. But
go on, tell us quickly. Go on.
Oh,
which one?
I think it was it Hertz, I think we hired with in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And they literally had no cars.
Isn't it?
We waited for two
Yeah.
solid hours waiting at the airport.
Wow.
And we were the last people in this big group that were all sat waiting for hours on end for cars to appear. And it felt like I don't know what we're supposed to do now.
Someone else is going to think one of the team are going to have to give you a lift somewhere.
Yeah, it was like all the rest of the people that had arrived to pick hire cars up had come after us, got a car and gone, and we still didn't have one. And I think he was just listening to some of the other people there that had hired with them as well. I think it was just the way they operated.
One in, one out, kind of.
Yeah.
What is weird with their method is they do have loads of allocated cars in bays that people have already reserved. So then they're not prepared to ever shuffle cars around if they've been reserved. So you're there staring at 20 of the type of vehicle you've rented, and they're like, no, sorry, your car's not here. And you think there's 20 of them sat in bays there.
Just give me one of them.
That one that you're going to give to us, we'll take the one there and just park it in the bay. No, we can't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just felt a bit like it wasn't well organised. But you know, we've hired them with multiple companies, but Alamo has always come back to being the best experience we usually have with hire cars.
Okay.
I think that's like Alamo and National. I think they're all the same company now. But we've hired with others and had seamless experience as well. Others where you have to get a shuttle bus that you have to travel from the airport. They're not as enjoyable, but yeah.
So
got to be a car. Got to have a car.
Yeah. So we're now an hour into this show, which is the second one about travel day.
We're still only just
and
left
we're
the
still
airport.
only leaving the airport. And this is the bit that we're trying to get to the last time.
Come on, we're there.
So
we can do this.
So I'm going to just put this out and just bail in with exactly your thoughts and your experiences. You know, what do you do that time when you get there? Do you go to the parks? Do you go shopping? Do you just chill out, go to sleep, whatever? What is it that you actually do when you get to the destination, be it a resort, be it a villa? Come on, share away.
Focus on food.
Yeah.
Normally by the time
getting something
it's one of
to
those
eat
things,
is
by the time that
usually-
we've like even eaten whatever rubbish was on the plane, and then it's like gotten through immigration, all the steps, got your car, got to your hotel, and then you just go like, I'm hungry. If I'm at a Disney resort, normally it's a refillable mug, so we'll go and work out where
chicken
everything
tenders
is.
usually.
Yeah, just something. Yeah,
Wow.
just something to start, and then sometimes we'll end up at Disney Springs.
Depends
the
on
resort
what
we're at.
time we've landed and what time we've got there as well.
Yeah, because once we didn't land, we didn't get to the hotel till 11 p.m. at night.
Yeah, it was
After
closed.
delay.
There was no food.
So there was literally no food options at Coronado Springs at the time because it was all closed. Luckily, I had a garden grocer order, so there was
We had some snacks to eat. Whereas last year we got there at 2:00?
Yeah.
Before the room was even
I think
ready.
3:30, by 4 o'clock we're at Polite Pig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't normally go. The only time we've ever been to a park on our first evening was the one in November 2021. We checked in at the Poly, and we were supposed to we were meeting Zach in Epcot that evening to watch Harmonious.
Yeah. And I actually think it's quite a weird one, isn't it? Because I think if you've got an annual pass, it's a really easy thing to do because you're not thinking about it. But if you've actually got a 14-day park ticket, you really don't want to be activating that park ticket for just the little slither of the day that you've got left, do you? You know, so it's a really tricky one to judge.
I guess it depends on who's in the party as well. I know Danny's just said that now they've got their son. It means that everyone's a bit tired and they tend to get food and go to sleep. It depends for me who we're with. So as a family, if we're there, like last year, we did go to Epcot because we want to go see Morg. He was working. We've also done straight to the villa and then gone and got dinner and unpacked and then just chilled. if I'm on my own, I tend to go to the parks.
Yeah.
I sometimes meet up with a friend, and I've done that before. I've met up with Zach, I've met up with Jason, and then gone for the evening in the parks, and then gone for food and drinks afterwards, and gone to bed at 2 a.m. And then you, do you know what? You get a second wind after a little while. And
I was going to say, I'm normally waking up about that time.
And that's the thing. I remember the first time I went on my own, I met up with Jason. We went to Epcot, and then we went to Three Bridges afterwards. And I think I went to sleep at like 2 a.m. and I was checking on my phone just before I went to sleep. Of course, all my friends were getting up to go to work. It was like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. And I was like, oh
is there a right or a wrong way of doing it?
I think it's whatever works.
No.
For me.
I don't quite know myself, and that's the reason why I actually felt it's worth just spending a bit of this show actually finishing that whole bit off as to, you know, that the whole bit where you've spent that, you've ridden that kind of adrenaline rush from waking up, getting yourself.
It's been a long day. The thing is, though, coming from the UK, it has been a super long day. Most people are getting up at early. If you're staying at the airport, you're still going to be up at 6 because if flights, 10:30, 9, 10 o'clock, something like that. If you're staying at home, you're going to have been up early. You're probably not going to sleep. But if you're like me, I don't sleep very well the night before I fly because I have that travel anxiety. So you tend to be fairly tired anyway, unless you sleep on the plane, which some people are very good at doing. And I kind of think that there is a method to going to sleep. Some people will go to sleep early, but then it doesn't matter what time you go to sleep. You're still going to be up at 4 a.m. And that's the risk. So for me, if I can, when I'm on my own, I will stay up as late as I possibly can. And then I will go to bed and get maybe 4 or 5 hours sleep and still wake up at a sensible time, but not at 4 a.m. And I guess, now we don't have to get up at 7 a.m. to get a Guardians of the Galaxy boarding group.
Yeah.
But I think it's like, some people don't even go to a park on their first day. They like to have a post-travel day, chill-out day, and go to a water park or whatever. And obviously, there is a deal at the moment. If you've got a US ticket, you can go straight to it. You can have a first night at a water park for free, which is another
on
option.
your check-in day.
Yeah, I think it really depends on how you feel after your flight. And we've also done go to the supermarket on the way, and Morgan and I have talked about it just today. That actually, when we get there in a couple of weeks, we'll probably we'll pick up the car. We'll go to Publix on the way to the hotel because my cousin flies in and she lands 2 hours late after us. So, we'll go and grab some food and stuff for the room on the way back to the hotel probably, which is not something we would normally do, but it works time-wise. I don't know. I guess it depends on who's in your party, how hungry you are. It's not something that particularly I would be focusing on grabbing food. It's not usually a driver for me by that point.
Yeah, it was interesting. Hannah in the chat has just mentioned about unpacking at the villa and then going to Walmart and Publix, getting dinner and sorting out your breakfast so you can move on the following day as well. It becomes one of those things you actually ultimately are trying to do too much in a really short space of time. And Simon, what's your experiences as well? Because
best in always best intentions, right? Of sitting on the plane debating what's going to happen when we arrive. It's always we'll get there, we'll ditch the bags and we'll go to the park. And then when we arrive, it's like, oh, what should we do? Do you want to head to the park? Well, we'll go and maybe we'll nip off, stop at Publix or Walmart and get a few bits, and then we've often gone to pick our crates up from Carrie as well. So sometimes we've gone and met them for dinner. So I can't remember the last time we ever arrived on that evening and then went in a park. I can't remember when that happened last, but we tend to go and find food, like Ben said. It's always priority for the evening, and then get checked in at the hotel and then get up early. We'll definitely be up early the next day, but lounge around till park opening time at least for the next day. But
and it's one of those weird things when you wake up early in the morning. It's like, I remember once we went first week in November, so the clocks had changed. And it's like I woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning. Okay, I'm going back to bed. And it was like, okay, I've been to sleep. And I woke up and it was still 3 a.m. It's something that really does mess with you. And it's just, your body clock just goes like, no, you've got to be up. And sometimes we'll fight it. And sometimes we're like, no, or just stay in bed till like 6.
Watch YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got to say, and this is it's strange because the reaction in the chat is similar to what you guys are all saying. It depends on your party.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And again, I think when you've got younger kids, certainly for us, when we went indirect, it helped because you were arriving later.
Yeah.
And then if you were into Miami, what we'd do is we'd find somewhere, basically as a staging post, like and half an hour or an hour away from Miami, where you check in, get some food, have some sleep, and that whole thing. I'll come to the other bit in a minute. As they've got older, it's been a case of, nope, we'll get in the car. I'm all right, Jack. Let's drive 5 hours all the way up to Orlando and we'll fill the time in from Miami. And it's a horrible drive. It really is. And it's one of them things I would always say to people, if you come from Miami, you go to Orlando, book a hotel. Don't even it's just not a nice drive. It's so boring.
So we flew to Miami and I drove across to Naples a few years ago, pre-COVID. And that was like a 2 and a bit hour drive. I was staying in Naples for a couple of weeks. And that's like a boring road, the Tamiami Trail. It's straight. Alligator Alley. But it wasn't too bad. Last October, when we went to Key West, we landed at Miami at like 3:30. Yeah. And I drove us down to Key West that evening. And it was fine until the sunset. Yeah. And driving over all those bridges, if anyone's driven to Key West, I think I counted like 74 bridges or something on the way back. Driving over those bridges, they don't have very high barriers on the sides, and they're not particularly well lit. And I was just grateful that the car in front of me was going to Key West, because wherever they were going, I was following them. Yeah. I could have ended up in their driveway. I have no idea. And you're looking at like the sat nav. I have like my Waze going, and there's literally just a road and nothing either side.
It's when you got water both sides, yeah.
And I'm driving, and I'm tired, and I'm fully aware that there's water on both of the sides of us. Yeah. Everyone else in the car's fast asleep, and there is very little light, and it's just like, don't do that. I would not do that again.
Yeah,
I would stay in Miami and then drive down the next day.
I would actually say, Claire, and this is probably a little bit of safety advice on the American roads, is that no matter how much you think that adrenaline's going to kick in because you're in America.
It did for the first hour and a half, and then after that, it was like...
the roads are that boring. You've got the straight, the flat, except for the bit where you got your bridges over, and you're just like, you're lulled into this really false sense of
it's almost mesmerizing.
Yeah.
And it's like trying to keep yourself awake. And
it's not good. It really
there's only so many 80s pop tunes you can listen to loudly.
Yeah.
The problem with American radios, like the commercial stations as well, it's the same. You'll get the same songs every hour. Right. So if you've got a 3 hour trip, you're going to hear all of the songs three times, again and again.
It does make it. I mean, it does make an interesting playlist though. When you come home and I've got certain playlists on my Spotify, which is like the 2019 playlist, because it was what we heard repeatedly on the radio, and that's quite fun. Yeah, you can create your own stuff. But if you've got a new car that's got Sirius FM, then that's find your favorite radio station to listen to.
On there, yeah.
I remember Anna finding the country music station as soon as we got in the car when we got to, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "No, this is Doobie Brothers all the way." What?
I'm surprised you never slapped her hand away from the stereo.
There's only so much Alan Jackson you can deal with.
Now, this is something I don't think we've really ever delved into this, and we've touched upon it just briefly, and I think it's very worthwhile in sharing. If you're coming from the UK, nothing can prepare you quite as much for that, like Ben said, that 3 a.m. moment where you think you've been asleep for hours. Irrespective if you only went to bed at 2 a.m. There's something happens, and it is so bizarre. I even all the years I've been going to Florida, I can't get my head around it. I know it's the jet lag, I know it's a time change, blah, blah, blah. Right? But for the whole time I'm there, I can wake up at 6 a.m. Florida time, not a problem. Ask me to do it in the UK 5 days a week, no chance. I hate it. It's the worst experience in the world. But you go to Florida and it's just like ding,
6 a.m.
and wide awake. And it really is. It's just like one of them bizarre things. And the kids are the same. So if you've got young children, please be aware. And you go for the first time, everyone's going to be up really early on that first morning.
Yeah. I love that first morning because especially when you can see the sunrise. We once we were staying at the boardwalk and we just walked around to like the beach, Yacht and Beach Club in the morning. It was like there was hardly anyone around. It was like I don't know, 10 to 7 in the morning.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Crescent Lake at sunrise is a really special place. Actually.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful.
I tell you one thing we did manage to see, and this goes back to Fort Lauderdale when we flew in there. We had a beautiful hotel, and we're actually sitting on the balcony of the hotel as the sun rose, and there were manatees, and there was is it bottlenose dolphins or something in the actual canals of Fort Lauderdale. And you when you sit there and you're going, that was just worth waking up this early just to see that. And you're just looking out and you're just like, yep, the holiday begins now. And it was such an amazing feeling. Beautiful.
I did get that early sunrise feeling working in Florida. Whilst everybody assumes working in Florida is going to be glamorous, it's not what people think.
Yeah.
Because you are ultimately dressed in work clothes and sitting in an office for 8 to 9 hours a day. It's
slightly different to being in a park.
But being in Melbourne, right on the beach, those mornings took the edge off having to sit in an office for 9 hours. So waking up and being on the beach and seeing the sunrise on the East Coast was always a nice thing. Arriving from the UK and being up really early has its benefits on that because you are definitely up to see the sunrise over breakfast.
Yeah.
That's why I like staying at Old Key West, because there's something about getting up early, 6 a.m, making coffee, and then sitting on the balcony and watching the golfers who come out early.
Oh, yeah.
And then, often then, this is not the PGA Tour people. So it's hysterical. And I've sent videos to John many times of some really poor golf and really bad golf cart driving at like 7:30 in the morning. And it's epic. It's great. I love it. And that's one of the benefits of staying at Old Key West. You get to see all the goings on.
I would say if you ever go to Vero Beach, that is one thing that we love doing at Vero Beach is we'll usually go and buy orange juice from one of the local farms that they grow oranges and press them there. So if you're in prime growing season, you can always get fresh orange from there. And then sitting drinking that with the sunrise in the morning.
Amazing.
Perfect.
There's not a lot to match the
sound of the waves on the water.
The waves on
I know exactly what you're
sunrise.
Yeah.
I actually think that is one of the moments in which it is just such a perfect way of bringing these whole two shows together, because it is that bit where the realization hits you on that first morning that everything that you spent all that time planning and everything that maybe you've been spending 2-3 years getting to this stage of actually getting to the United States, and that first morning you wake up so early and yet it all lies ahead of you. It is an indescribable feeling, because actually it doesn't matter if it's your first time, your 100th time of going. It just, everything just sort of stops and you're just like, we've made it.
The excitement.
It's a beautiful.
I'm just getting excited thinking about August already.
Yeah.
I've got like 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I can't wait.
A month tomorrow till we were in Disneyland.
Right. This is it.
Travel day. I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's a really packing list.
And it is. There's something about a travel day, and I really do. I do feel as if this is the one thing, and I think we started the first show talking about it. If you watch people's vlogs, you read blogs, everybody, no matter who they are, gets loads of clicks for travel day, because everyone's got their own little ritual. Everyone does it different from someone else. Hannah mentioned in the chat as well that you just be aware, if you're in Orlando for sunrise, you will generally get the sight of the hot air balloons as well. Yeah. And again, that's just another one of those little moments where you're just going, I'm home. And it's beautiful. It really is. I honestly, yeah, I was going to say I can't describe it. We spent two whole shows
describing it.
But it's just such a brilliant feeling. It really is. And just it's been an absolute pleasure just actually talking about it, because it just does become, I don't know, it's just one of the things, it just sets you up nice for your next trip. I'll put it that way. Depending on how soon it is. In case anyone's listening and has not got a trip planned, I'm thinking of you as well. And we're going to have to wrap it up, I think, because actually we've gone long. We've gone long again. This is becoming a habit, and everyone in the chat, thank you so much. Heather's come back in the chat as well, and Heather, do you know something? It's absolutely brilliant.
If we could have an award for the person who sticks with us every single week, the entire show, Heather, you would win it. Every week. Yeah, thank you.
I'll tell you another thing, Claire, as well, and hats off to everyone in the chat tonight, because everyone stayed through the whole show.
It's been great.
And that's what makes this show so special for us doing it on a Wednesday, because you guys are actually interacting and you are part of the show. Now, next week,
I'm so excited about it.
This is like
I've already got my list.
I'm like,
I'm hungry already.
We're talking
unbelievably excited.
It's food time. So again, top 10. Is it top 10 all-time Disney restaurants?
Top 10 all-time Disney restaurants, including some that may not be there anymore.
Yeah. Yep. Now that could be the game changer. So if you're in the chat, put your thinking hat on and be part of the show next week, and share with us your favorites as well.
Takeoff 71.
Oh, brilliant.
Share.
There's loads, eh? Go on, keep it for next week. Goodness.
Yeah.
Chef Mickey's will not feature.
Sorry, Sean.
Absolutely not. That's going straight in the bin.
We'll see if Sean
rocks up next
week. We can do top 10 best, and then we can do top 10 worst.
Top 10 worst at some point.
Right.
Oh, that's controversial.
Yeah. I can't
wait. An interesting one, though.
Next week's going to be so much fun, and join us, because we need to know your views as well.
And bring a snack, because it's not a show you want to watch hungry.
No.
Yeah, and I'm just going to remind everyone. First part of the Epcot Troll Around World Showcase, and a special shout out to Sammy, who used to be part of the show way back when. That was for her, because she hadn't been into any of them. And if you follow Sammy on social media, she's on holiday at the moment, and it's raining. So
not in Orlando.
No, and not in the UK either. Perfect. Yeah. What could be possibly wrong with that?
It's the most horrible thought, isn't it? You would like.
It's a nightmare. I'm going. Yeah. I'm away next week, so that would be my worst nightmare. If karma comes and have me badly, does it? Instead of getting a bit of sunshine, I get done over.
Right.
And it just I'll shut up now. I think that's probably the best thing. Cheers, guys. Thank you to all of you guys, because it's been such a fun show to do. Simon, thank you for joining us. You're always welcome.
Thanks for having me
on the show. And again, if you listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else, don't forget to hit the follow button and leave us a review, or leave a comment on the YouTube channel, because actually it's really nice seeing people leaving a comment on how much they enjoy the show.
Apparently, if you listen on Spotify, you can also leave us a comment on there too.
Can you? It depends whether I click the box on the podcast version of this show as to whether or not I allow comments. So I might allow comments from now on, because previously I didn't. So I'm just fessing up. That's it. It's just so nice to know so many people are actually watching the show, listen to the podcast, because actually it makes it so much fun for us. And at the end of the day, I'll say it again. Even if you weren't, we'd still be here on a Wednesday night because we just enjoy having a chat about Disney and just chilling out. Right. It's one of the wonderful things that we actually have the ability to share with people. So thank you everyone for watching, for listening, and until next time, we'll see you soon.
We'll see you real soon.
Now my wheels in motion and my window